Why you so mad, you big dummy? The lack of intellectualism, which leads to violence. There has been a great and obvious issue facing our society. So of course, I'm going to point it out and offer the solution. And I'm going to continue doing this until all of my philosophy is accepted and society is fit to rejoin. The problem is idiocy, but a lot of you probably already knew that. Now, this is not a new problem in history, but it's certainly grown to new heights. Exciting heights. Most people appear to be imbeciles, even the educated. Most of them, honestly. I recently stumbled upon a Facebook group making fun of Americans, and the joke was that the average American IQ is 75. If you're unfamiliar, the average IQ is 100. And higher or lower IQ is calculated based upon that average. The memers playfully backed up their claims with screenshots of Americans attempting to make intellectual social arguments that were obviously anti-biology, generally anti-science. And I don't think I need to point out this popular new stance because I'm hopeful that my audience is intelligent enough to read through the lines so I don't need to spell it out because I'm already shadow banned on most platforms. Now, this issue of obvious anti-reality idiocy is directly tied to those who, raise the idiots. They have children and then raise them contrary to science and reality, or simply do not have the mental capacity to raise children well enough to become adults who are resistant to lunacy when someone tries to force it down their throats. The issue of a society of intellectuals is the fault of the parents not being authentic intellectuals themselves. I have another video about the trouble of Christian parents raising their children in a Christian faith without the foundation of science, history, and philosophy, so their children are susceptible to scientific, historic, and philosophical inaccuracies, who then spread these inaccuracies with all the confidence in the world. Once again, I've spoken on the correlation level between lower than average intelligence with higher than average confidence. This illustrates itself in resistance to opposing viewpoints, with an unwillingness to consider one's own flaws in their arguments.
You suck, fuck you, you're not wanted, fuck you.
And personally tying their self-concepts into their ideology, but in an unhealthy way of assessing their own value. I.e., if my social ideology is wrong, that means I'm foolish forever pushing it. So I have to be right in order to be better than someone who disagrees with me. Because surely anyone who disagrees with me is a bad person and a terrible monster with horrible morals. Now, circling back, these latter mentioned people think the way that they do because they did not have both the proper intellectual foundation nor loving devotion bestowed on them in their upbringing. And this isn't to knock on parents who tried to raise their children properly but lost them to lunacy. I'm not trying to down on you. I'm speaking to a cultural generality. The anti-science, anti-philosophy, emotionally unstable people, unwilling to be challenged by others' viewpoints, were simply not provided the motivation or factual building blocks necessary to become emotionally and mentally well-rounded, productive citizens. I have other videos diving into the why and how the last few generations of parents have failed society in failing their children. All my videos tend to be connected because everything is connected. The purpose of this one is to focus on the consequence of American parents not raising their children to be thinking, but unfortunately emotionally argumentative.
Would you like me to answer your questions? I can't answer if you keep screaming at me. Do you want me to answer your questions?
I'm waiting.
Are you going to stop talking?
Are you going to answer my question?
Yes.
Or are you going to sit here and look stupid?
We recently had this hate crime of a shooting in Nashville, and the unwillingness to label this as a hate crime is the ultimate example of this entire lecture. This person, we know, was emotionally and mentally unstable. We see that by their embraced social ideology and, their bigotry towards those who disagree with them.
Where's the message of the day?
Love. Love everyone, accept everyone for who they are. Just tolerance and love and acceptance.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
Him.
People like this imagine themselves oppressed when they aren't. Do you know how oppressed people behave? Scared. Oppressed people are afraid to stand up against their oppressors because they will be somehow harmed. The brave, bold people who are vastly supported and defended are not oppressed. That is not to say that an ideology that is widely accepted is naturally oppressive, but people seem to forget that authentic oppression requires behavior. Oppression has nothing to do with feelings, because being threatened by someone else's ideology is a you problem. Someone else saying you can do whatever you want, just leave me out of it, is not oppression. Oppression would be someone saying you cannot live how you want in the confines of your own property. Pushing your belief system on someone else in the form of controlling them is oppression. Having the belief that it's okay to end someone else's life because of your value system, or rather lack of a value system, is oppression. Defending someone else, especially the innocent, from potentially being harmed by someone else's ideology isn't oppression. Now, someone who would actively harm an innocent person, especially innocent children, was raised poorly. Once again, this is a generality. I understand there are exceptions, but the majority of shooters in this country seem to share very similar ideologies and upbringings. People believe a false concept of what oppression is because they are woefully undereducated and have never experienced oppression. A government trying to take away its citizens' ability to defend themselves against it is oppression. Anyone voting in a way that would infringe upon the natural rights of someone, the right to life, living in peace, and their parental rights of education, is oppression, because you are seeking to take away the natural rights of someone else. And unfortunately, low-level oppressors oftentimes wish to just hand over power to the government, idiotically believing that the government will give them the life that they desire. And, in order to take away power from those that they've made their enemies, because they don't like that they have a different ideology from them. Oppressors wish to punish those who do not give them authority.
Firstly, it enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI+ community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
Much like oppressing Christians by taking away their lives or trying to make them live in fear.
Because people are forcing me to use words that have no biological meaning. In California, you can go to prison if you misgender somebody. Oh yeah, you're okay with that? Yes. Oh, okay. So you think if I misgender somebody, okay, so if I go up to somebody and I misgender them, I can face prison time and you're okay with that? Oh, yes. Okay, that's the problem.
Unintelligent people raise low-level oppressors. Low-level as in those without much social power. Intelligent oppressors get themselves into a place of power to lord over others. Unintellectual parents raise emotionally unstable children who believe that their emotions trump reality. They think that if they are the bigger victim, think narcissism, they think that they must be the bigger authority. And the goalposts of victimhood have not only moved continuously, but they are based upon the biggest authoritative victim's emotionally unstable delusional whims. But hilariously enough, most of the time, unintelligent oppressors only have social power granted to them by the more intelligent, morally corrupt people who just wish to use the dummies for their own personal gain. It's easier to be emotionally unstable if you're illogical, and it's easier to be illogical if you're less intellectual, if you haven't sought out the truths of science, philosophy, history in order to shape your concept of reality. The emotionally unstable ones are also more easily violent. That's why corrupt people in power call on their less intelligent fan base to commit violence.
They're gonna absolutely harass them.
Dumb people cannot reason. And just like the caveman trope, they get angry when they cannot wrap their heads around something and begin to smash the thing that made them angry. Jocks beating up nerds. Straw-manning an argument you can't win. Immediately insulting someone because you cannot argue with their points. Or more eloquently put, slander is the tool of the loser.
Fucking lame over here. These are these fucking freaks over here.
Those below average intelligence who cling to illogical non-realities physically lash out at the thing that they cannot mentally beat.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Hey, get your fucking ass up there!
Caveman Smash. Or, shoot up a school of innocent children. Or, defend the person who did it, saying that they're somehow a victim. Oh, they're a victim, all right. Don't get me wrong. A victim of predatory oppressors who use their twisted agendas to prey on those without intellectual and loving foundations in order to keep them so dumb and so miserably unhappy that they turn to violence.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face! They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
So we come back to the issue of our society being, quite frankly, dumb people. Mostly dumb people who think they're smart people. Remember the correlation between lower intelligence and higher confidence. As I've touched on in several other videos, intelligent people realize just how much they don't know, and they're always seeking to humbly learn more, because that's their happy place, exploration of knowledge. But dumb people who think they're smart, their only happy place is thinking that they're standing above someone else, proving that they're somehow better than them. They're the happiest when they are bullies, because they're insecure and obsessed with power. They're obsessed with people believing they're smarter and better than others, which is why the higher education system has been hijacked, because now the ones without a lick of common sense can falsely believe that they're smarter than those who didn't go into debt paying someone else to tell them how and what to think. And lo and behold, these people find that they cannot stand toe-to-toe with reality. So they scream and they wail and they caveman smash. The cure? The cliche of education. Not formal, obviously, since American schools are just indoctrination machines, but actual education. People vote for the things they don't understand because they don't understand it. Take abortion. Half these people have no clue what it actually is. All they know is emotional pleas and propaganda. I've seen tons of people change their minds in real time as soon as they are shown medical, scientific facts about abortion. This is just one of the topics that the elites want us divided on. So they try to silence the science embracers by insisting they are the science deniers. Education is always the solution. Teach your children about science and history and philosophy, and actual science and history and philosophy, not propaganda, but also arm them with the knowledge of the propaganda that they will encounter, and teach them why it's false before lunacy can slip in. Let's put a stop to the violence of tomorrow before it's even a thought in any of these kids' heads. Spare them of becoming the violent, dumb pawns the elites want them to be.
Outrage continues after protesters at San Francisco State ambushed college swimming champion Riley Gaines following her speech on gender and fairness in women's sports.
The room was stormed, the lights were turned off, and I was rushed with no one there to escort me to a safe place. I was punched, I was hit multiple times, I was shoved.
We won't see the promised land, but our children might. I'm Regina Lux with Veritas on the Rocks. Sorry I didn't have anything positive today, guys, but ignite the truth and boldly go.